Okay, so we have two items right here. We're going to actually do this one first, Lexington and Concord, and the Second Continental Congress, just because this brings us up to the writing of the Declaration of Independence, and we did that activity about the Declaration, and now we're going to add those notes in. So here we go. Lexington and Concord, the shots heard around the world, the battle that started a revolution, results in the Second Continental Congress meeting again. Where are they going to meet? They don't want to be on the coast because they are afraid of an attack from the king. They don't want to be in Boston because there's too many soldiers. They need to be somewhere in the middle that everybody can get to easily. So they're going to meet in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Who's going to go? It is going to be your representatives from the 13 colonies. Each of the colonies are going to send a few people, a delegation, that's why they are called delegates, to meet and discuss what to do about Lexington and Concord and the king. And so they're going to do four things. The first thing that they decide to do is they're going to send King George III an olive branch petition. They're not ready for a war. Wars cost money. People don't survive. And so they send what they call an olive branch petition because an olive branch is a symbol of peace. An olive branch represents peace. And they say, hey, please, let's just have peace. Please give us our rights. And the king says, no. He's over it. He says to them, if you send me another letter, if you bother me again, I'm going to make sure you hang. That's when those representatives, because this is over a few months, decide to create the Continental Army. They're going to use the colonial militias, those Minutemen, who are ready at a minute's notice to fight to create a Continental Army. With that army, they're going to appoint none other than George Washington. If we remember, George Washington gained some valuable war experience in the French and Indian War. He's going to serve as the commander general of the army. He actually gets asked by King George III to serve as a leader in the British army to put down the rebellion, and luckily for us, he said no. And so it is with that they're going to write and sign the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. All right, we're going to take this, we're going to glue this in, and then we're going to have our Declaration of Independence that we're going to fold into a booklet, and we'll be able to glue this into. All right, here we go, because I'm going to start right on this one right away. Don't forget, glue this one in, and you're going to glue this one in also. You can glue them side by side. All right, Declaration of Independence. Who is the author? The primary author is going to be Thomas Jefferson. He is a young representative from Virginia, and he writes pretty well. He's good with words, and so he's going to be chosen to be the primary author. He is going to get help from none other than John Adams. We've been introduced to John Adams, and our favorite founding father, Benjamin Franklin. Who are going to help him with ideas. They're going to look it over. Maybe you should change this word. Oop, let's take this out. Let's add this. And so they're going to help Thomas Jefferson. When is it adopted on? See, I don't say written on because it takes them a little bit of time to write it. It actually gets adopted on, we already know this from our other notes, July 4th, 1776. And that's why we celebrate Independence Day. Where do they sign it? Well, we already know that because we just did it on our other paper. It is going to be signed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Who signs it? Well, none other than the people that are there. And these people, of course, are going to be our representatives. I'm going to put Second Continental Congress. Our Second Continental Congress are going to be the ones to sign it. And who are they going to send it to? They write that letter and they send it off to King George III. And every time in their declaration they say, he did this, he did this, he did it, they are talking about King George III. All right, so that gives us our basic overview of it. We're going to open it up so we can actually look at it. We were able to look at it already in different parts. And so preamble is a fancy word for introduction. In the preamble, it gives us the purpose of the document. Well, we know the purpose because the title of the document, sorry, I'm trying to zoom in just a little bit. Let me see where I can move over. Let me move you over just a little bit so we can straighten ourselves out. I apologize. The title of this document is the Declaration of Independence. So, of course, the purpose of it is going to be to declare independence from Great Britain, to separate from Great Britain. And it starts with that, with saying, hey, this is what we're doing. They want to make it clear to the king, we are going to be breaking away from you. We are breaking up. We are done. We are no more. All right. Part 2 are your unalienable or natural rights written in there. Let me pull this up just a little bit. I feel like it's a little crooked. Let me see if I can pull this up just a little bit. There we go. And pull it back. Okay. All right. Unalienable or natural rights. Thomas Jefferson borrows the idea from John Locke of this idea of natural rights, and he says every person has unalienable rights. And these, of course, are going to be life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And when we say every person has every right, we mean every single person. It's not based upon your age. It's not based upon your citizenship. Is it every single person? And when do you get them? You get them at birth. And nobody can take them away. The only way they can be taken away is with a fair trial. If somebody is charged with a crime, and they are given a fair trial, the government can take away life, liberty, or the pursuit of happiness from a person. But you have to have a fair trial before that can happen. And he makes sure to say that the government is deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. Well, who are the governed? That is the people. What does this mean? It means the government gets its power from the people. So it's not the government that is in charge, it is the people who are in charge. And so Thomas Jefferson borrows that idea, like we said, from John Locke. He kind of steals it from John Locke. That's what makes Thomas Jefferson so brilliant, is he doesn't mind borrowing other people's stuff. He borrows that idea from John Locke, L-O-C-K-E, that idea of natural rights, unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thomas Jefferson gives 27 grievances in the Declaration of Independence. We're not going to list all 27. Grievances, of course, are wrongs done by the king. How do I remember grievances? I think about how you are when you are crying, when you're grieving, when you're upset. And so that's the best way to remember grievances. Top 4 grievances the colonists had against King George III in Parliament. You can write a lot of stuff. Of course, number 1 being the taxation without representation. We know that. We remember that. We have that one down pat. So the taxation without representation. What's another big grievance for them? Well, no trial by jury. No fair trial. Whether it was the judge being dependent upon the king's will, not having the trial by jury, taking colonists back to England for a trial, that was not fair. No fair trials. What is a third one? It was the quartering of troops. The Quartering Act. They hated that they had to quarter troops and provide housing. That's why in our Constitution today, our Third Amendment says no quartering troops. And then, of course, the fourth one, another thing that they get really mad about is that the legislatures can't make laws. And we all know that when the colonies were founded, they signed a document that said they could, which was the Mayflower Compact. That's self-government. And the king is saying, no, you can't. And so he lists 27 grievances, 27 wrongs. Those are just 4 of them. You need to make sure that you can recognize those different grievances. All right, part 4 is the resolution, the ending. And it's going to do 2 things. Number 1, it declares independence. It says we are separate and we are free. And then number 2, it officially creates the United States of America. It says we are the new United States of America. So number 1, resolution, this is the end. This is what it does. This is the conclusion. We are no longer part of Great Britain. We are now the United States of America. Now, while this document is being written, a lovely, lovely lady, Abigail Adams, is sending letters back and forth to her husband, John Adams. And she's going to tell her husband, remember the ladies. Don't forget the women. The women can be such a big help if you remember us. Unfortunately, John Adams forgot. So who is left out in the Declaration of Independence? Well, of course, the women. And then let's not forget, when it said all men are created equal, did it really mean all men? No. It only meant a certain group of men. So it's going to leave out women and people of color. It is going to leave them out in that Declaration of Independence. But later, we're going to come back to this and be able to talk about the ways that they are going to then be included. Go ahead, make sure you glue this in and this.